This is Crowned, a Smell Baseball podcast where the gloves are soft, the innings long, and the memories even longer. I'm your host, Mr. Baseball, and today we step back in time to 1920. It's a year of heartbreak and heroism on the diamond, a World Series where tragedy and triumph collide in unforgettable fashion. So grab your Cracker Jacks and settle in. We've got a tale of scandal, sorrow, and salvation, and how the city of Cleveland won it all for a fallen hero. 1920, the dawn of a new decade. America is roaring. Well, just starting to roar. Prohibition has us pretending ginger ale is champagne, and baseball is at a crossroads. The 1919 World Series left a dark cloud over the sport. Whispers that the game might be crooked after the infamous Black Sox scandal. Fans didn't know whom to trust. Was the national pastime tarnished for good? But as 1920's season unfolded, a different story began to write itself on the shores of Lake Erie. In Cleveland, a tight-knit ball club was chasing glory in the American League. Tris Speaker's Cleveland Indians were battling the mighty Chicago White Sox, the defending champs, and Babe Ruth's New York Yankees in a thrilling pennant race. Speaker, the legendary Gray Eagle, was a player-manager patrolling center field with grace. His team had talent. Stan Kovaleski, a spitball ace mowing down batters. Jim Bagby, a 31-game winning workhorse. Elmer Smith and Larry Gardner swinging big bats. And a dependable second baseman named Bill Wambsgans. Don't worry, we'll practice that name later. Cleveland had never won a World Series. Heck, they'd never even been to one. But this year they hungered for it. Over in the National League, the Brooklyn Robins, yes, the Dodgers, back then nicknamed after their manager Wilbert Uncle Robbie Robinson, had their own dreams. They hadn't won a title either. Led by stars like Zach Wheat, a sweet swinging future Hall of Famer, and pitcher Burley Grimes, one of the last legal spitballers, the Robins scraped their way to the NL pennant. It set the stage for a fresh World Series matchup. Cleveland Indians versus the Brooklyn Robins. Two hungry teams, neither won a champion yet. In a time when baseball desperately needed a feel-good story, these underdog clubs were ready to deliver. Yet, the backdrop was anything but lighthearted. In August, Cleveland had been struck by tragedy. Beloved shortstop Ray Chapman was beamed by a fastball and killed, the only MLB player ever to die from an in-game injury. Chapman's death on August 17, 1920, shook the sport to its core. He was just 29. Fans fell silent in ballparks across the country. An unimaginable grief hung over the Indians. In the dugout, the tribe mourned their friend. They vowed to win it for Ray. They wore black armbands on their sleeves, playing with heavy hearts but steely determination. A rookie named Joe Sewell stepped in at shortstop to fill Chapman's spot, and the team rallied together like a family. As if that weren't enough drama, the specter of the Black Sox loomed. Rumors swirled all summer that the 1919 White Sox had thrown the World Series for gamblers. As the Indians and White Sox dueled for first place, investigations began. Finally, in late September 1920, it all blew up. A Chicago grand jury heard star pitcher Eddie Cicotte confess to the fix. On September 28, just as the season hit the final stretch, the White Sox owner Charles Comiskey shockingly suspended 7 players, the alleged conspirators, despite being tied for first. With their best players yanked off the field, Chicago collapsed at the finish line. Cleveland surged ahead, winning the pennant by 2 games. The Indians were AL champs, a bittersweet triumph aided in part by a scandal that gutted their rival. You couldn't script a more dramatic lead-up to a World Series if you tried. A sport in need of redemption, a team carrying a fallen teammate's memory, and another team just happy to be there, trying to make Brooklyn proud. The stage was set for the 1920 World Series, and folks, it would not disappoint. Oh, and did I mention, this fall classic would be a little different. For one, it was a best-of-9 series. They briefly experimented with a longer format to squeeze in more games and more ticket revenue, let's be honest. So, first to 5 wins takes the crown. Before we dive into the games, take a moment to imagine the scene. League Park in Cleveland, also known as Dunn Field, packed with 25,000 fans in wool suits and flapper dresses, straw boaters, and flat caps on their heads. The smell of cigars and hot peanuts in the air. A brass band playing a jaunty tune between innings. In Brooklyn, Ebbets Field, actually called Washington Park for part of that year, buzzing with trolley cars clanging outside and excited Brooklynites hoping to see their Robins finally bring home a championship. There's no TV, no internet, no Twitter. Most fans would read about the games in the paper or crowd around ticker tape machines. Only a lucky few got tickets, and some would do anything to get them. Speaking of which, time for a quick side story. One of Brooklyn's pitchers, Rube Marcotte, found himself in a pickle before Game 4. Old Rube was caught trying to scalp World Series tickets on his own birthday, no less. He offered an undercover cop 6 tickets to that day's game in Cleveland for a whopping $350, a princely sum in 1920. That was several months' rent back then. The long arm of the law nabbed him, and poor Rube got hauled into court on game day. The judge fined him $1 plus $2.80 in court costs, yes, about $3.80, and probably a stern lecture on not being a darn fool. By the time he paid his measly fine, Marcotte made it back to the ballpark just in time. Talk about hustle. He even pitched in relief later, but needless to say, that birthday was one for the books and the papers. Brooklyn's front office wasn't amused, but the fans sure got a chuckle reading the headlines. Now on to the main event, October 1920, World Series.